Good morning, Coach. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I am good. The only thing I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Here we go.
How about them Cowboys? They're coming in hot. They're coming in hot, Dave.
Well, yes. I mean, they are because they
scored 40 points.
He scored 40 points and beat the Giants at home. I mean, I don't know how hot that makes them, but you're right. They're coming in confident, and yeah, absolutely. They're probably feeling better than than maybe what they are as a football team. But Flus comes back. I mean, there's a lot of sidebars this week.
There's a few different players coming back. You got the corner, the linebacker,
Jack Sanborn.
You could use him.
Playing at a pretty high level.
I liked him.
8 tackles the other day.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I liked him when he was here.
So, Dave, help us out. You know, we've been talking about the defense. We've been talking about how much these injuries are damaging them, and we'll get to that. But I'm just curious, when the Bears are dominating, when the defense is dominating the offense in practices, you keep hearing that coming out of Hallis Hall, that defense is ahead, they're doing so well. What does that mean when you get into the season and they surrender 52 points in the second game?
Well, the word would be surprising, to be honest with you, because that's what you want, particularly in training camp and particularly early in the season. You want your defense should be ahead of your offense, particularly when you're putting in new systems on both sides of the ball. But I'm not going to use the word disappointed, because I do believe in Ben. He knows what he's doing. This is not a first-time play caller. You know, we can see the history of the last 3 years at Detroit, and you can say what you want about Dan Campbell. He's a great coach. Love him. I love his attitude. My type of guy, obviously, but he's not calling plays. I mean, that's Ben's offense that they ran up here and installed. So it's I know he can do it, and I believe the same thing with Dennis Allen. I mean, they got
to be disappointed.
They got a damn good coaching.
You got to be disappointed.
They're
0-2, Dave.
He said he's surprised.
I'm using the word surprised.
I know.
Disappointed takes me to a level that I don't want to be at right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm saying I'm surprised at where they're at now.
You're hopeful.
I'm hopeful.
So, while others despair.
But I would go back to this. We can talk about the 5 pass plays over 20 yards. The 5 runs over 10. That's you can't have that and win a game.
Yep.
But still, let's even get more, as Jerry Jones would say, let's get down to the red meat even farther. We can't have 8 penalties, and we can't have 3 turnovers.
20 in 2 games.
We lose the turnover battle, and we lose the penalty battle to Detroit on the road without saying another word. That makes me say, did they win the game? You know what I mean? That would concern me.
So you're a first-time head coach, and you walk into your locker room for the next big practice after losing 2 straight games, and you don't have a young team. This is not a young team growing with a first-time head coach. You've got a bunch of veterans who are highly paid and underperforming. How does Ben Johnson attack that reality?
Well, it's very difficult. Now, you can go out there and practice in full pads. I mean, that was the old school way of doing it. You guys know that. I mean, how much I know Ben used the word competition, and what he wants to see is I think competing on the field and off the field. He wants to make sure that guys are getting in there and they're getting in the playbook and they're studying the tape and they're hustling around on the football field, and it's all business. I think that's what he's alluding to. You're not going to go out there and have an inside run and start evaluating who's getting off a block and who's not. That's done in training camp. But I do think when you say competing, you can compete, in practice as far as your tempo, your preparation, mistakes, all those things that will cost you a football game. That's how I would look at it at this point. And Ben, I thought he did a very good job at his press conference. Under that circumstances, of that mess, He was upbeat, he was positive, and then the thing was, when you listen to the post game with Caleb Williams, T.J. Edwards, Adunze, they all said the same thing. Hey, we still believe, and as long as you believe and you work hard, you got a chance, and that's where I think they're at.
This segment with Dave Wannstedt is sponsored by ChicagoRoofingContractors.org, providing all-weather protection for your business.
Your offensive line is your biggest problem right now because you invested heavily in the offseason and celebrated the arrival of 3 guys that were going to make a difference. It's not made a difference. How would you attack that?
Well, and that's why the 2 areas that concern me the most right now are the running game and stopping the run. Back to the offensive line, you're not going to put anybody else new in there at this point. Okay, what you have is what you have. They did try to do a little bit of help with some guys' pass protection. I don't think that's the issue. The biggest thing that I'm hung up on is the run game with the offensive line. That's the one thing that's
hard to believe.
It's the simplest thing to do. Offensive linemen like running the ball and run blocking a lot more than pass protection. They've done it. These guys are veteran guys. They've done it. I think we got to look at the plays, look at the back that's in there. I like Swift on first down. You know where I stand with that. But when we have to run the ball, he's not my guy.
They don't have another back.
Well,
they don't have another back. The general manager left him 1 back shy.
Well,
I like Monungai, but he's not ready.
Try him. He'd be ready.
Okay.
He knows these plays. Put him in there and give him the ball. I mean, they gave it to, I know Roshan's hurt, but Monungai's every bit as good as Roshan.
Roshan was up and available last week because you're too busy benching some of your draft picks. Why not play him?
Yeah, I mean, we got to do. To me, mindset-wise, pounding the football. You run Caleb twice on 3rd and 1. Okay, and I say I'm fine with 3rd and 1. Go up on the first sound. I love that with quarterbacks that weren't as big or strong or as athletic, and we were about 84% success ratio. First con, set hut, go up there and you get a yard. I mean, it's not that sophisticated, guys. But then they come back on 4th down. That one, I don't know. I mean, but. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm mumbling around here a little bit, David, because I am a little bit surprised that we're not more effective running the ball with the addition of the 3 guys and the improvement. Darnell Wright, I saw him get beat a couple times, right? You talk about a top 10 pick, and then we're watching Detroit, and what's their tackle, Sewell? Penny Sewell.
Oh God, that guy.
Well, but I mean, you're talking about a top 10 pick, Mully. But that's a top 10 pick.
Let's get back to that because I think that's a very important thing to talk about. We're going to take a quick time out, and there was a lot, as you well know, Dave. Football emotion, very important. That they were talking about Ben Johnson betraying the fine people of Detroit, and certainly the fans were chanting at him. That was about as rude as anything you're going to hear. You've heard a lot of that stuff over the years, Dave. What was your take on Ben Johnson? You mentioned that he did well post-game. Man, that had to really hurt him. And they wanted to show they didn't need him. And it was just there were circumstances, emotional stuff in that game that maybe the Bears weren't prepared for.
Absolutely, and that's Dan Campbell. That's what he does best, is get your team ready to fight, and that's kind of what they did. They came out ready to play, and they had to win that game. Campbell predicted it early in the week or whatever, but they got to bounce back, and I know this is a coach is saying, but it is true. It's never as good or as bad as what the score indicates. I mean, and I've been on both sides of that where, we thought we played really good, and we win the game, have a big win. And we get on there and you look at the tape close and you say, God, that we were fortunate on that one, or that,
Yes.
And then the other side too. I mean, 2 of those long runs they had, it was just contained. I mean, if the guy keeps his outside arm free and turns it back and he gets reached and Gibbs goes down the sideline. I mean, they bust the coverage on the back end. They said lack of communication. I mean,
yeah. Explain that one, Dave.
Well, it should usually.
You don't use hand signals, do you? How do you
have, oh yeah.
Especially with a crowd like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it should not be as loud when they're on offense, So we were always concerned when we were playing at home. I would have silent practices. I would tell the defense, I don't want to hear a guy call a check out loud today. And it's all hand signals. Everything is hand signals. And but that's you get most of them when you're playing at home because the other team
shouldn't be a problem this Sunday.
No, the other team's on offense and there's a lot of screaming, so that should not be a problem.
Was that an excuse then by Tyreek Stevenson?
No, I think they didn't hear it. I think he's being legit. That they missed a call, missed a check, whatever it was. That
we talked a lot about T.J. Edwards and Jalen Johnson coming back. And when you're the coach, how difficult is that to weigh how the injury might be affecting a player and the player's desire to be back on the field? Because you want to have, you always say, it's up to the trainer. It's up to the trainer.
Right.
But that's not always in reality what happens. The player's word is weighed heavily into that decision. How difficult is that for a coach?
Well, when you're dealing with a young team, a lot of rookies, a young team, the coach can, even though the trainers and the doctors are going to make the final decision, the coach can have a bigger influence. He can have an influence on the player and the team. Hey, we got to get you out there. You okay? You know what I mean? In a positive way. And the doctors say, it's up to him. And now the kid says, okay, I'll play. I'll try. But both these guys are veteran guys. Regardless of what Ben said, I mean, they would not have gone out there, in my estimation, unless they felt like they were ready to play. I really believe that. I don't think there have been any influences from the coaching staff or anybody else to get them out there. They're both veteran players. They've been around. They know the drill.
Why did the Bears bring in Jake Moody?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Have you ever do something like that? Do you ever bring in a kicker just to apply some heat on your starter?
Yeah, I think I did it with Todd Cyber the second week. No, I'm kidding. But we would, and you know what? You're also maybe you haven't lost confidence, okay, in Santos, but you want to be double sure of your short list, as they call it. So bring a guy in. Let's bring a guy or two in and let him kick. Let's get around him. And just in case. So that does. I mean, is that motivation for the kicker? Sure, it is. I mean, if somebody came in at our position and he's doing a trial run at any job, all of a sudden you're looking around saying, "Uh-oh."
Is that what? I mean, we all know that kickers are a different breed, and their confidence is so important in what they do. And you heard Kyle Shanahan say that Moody lost confidence, and we couldn't have confidence in him. And when players lose confidence, you can't really keep them. And he said he thinks he'll have a great career, all that stuff.
Yep, I think that's true.
But you bring him in, and then you start the game, and Santos kicks the ball out of bounds.
Yep,
which is ironical, given that you didn't do that the game before.
That was a class.
It's almost funny.
Can't make that up.
But it makes you wonder if that damaged his confidence.
It may have, absolutely. And I think what Kyle Shanahan said is 100% right. If a kicker loses confidence, it's very difficult for them to. You don't have time for them to work through it. I mean,
yes.
So I mean that can be. There's a lot of kickers that their careers not ended, but it ended with the team because they missed 2 or 3 in a row and kickoffs and extra points, and you got to get somebody else, because what happens next is then the players in the locker room start looking around and saying, "Oh, geez, coach, I don't know if we got a lot of confidence in this guy." What they need is the game to come down to the last minute and Santos to kick a game winner through. Then you're back.
I think they take a blowout victory.
Oh yeah.
What happened to the plan to get Colston Loveland the ball?
I don't know. It's there's only one football, and we're not. We got to get more plays, I guess. They did go up tempo, but I wrote this down here. They came out. They went to that little pistol offense, which was kind of new for them. I liked that. Play action pass, try to run it. And then they came back the next series and they went tempo. They went at the line, but they went 3 and out, incomplete blame, and they were off the field in a minute. So, I mean, there's only one football. Komet's probably saying the same thing. I think our tight ends have had 9 targets in 2 games. But how many targets, has DJ had, and how many targets, and everybody wants to see Luther. I mean, that's a tough situation trying to spread the ball around. You got to do what you can do to take advantage of their defense.
Have the Bears filled their roster with too many guys that you had a hunch about as opposed to legitimate NFL talent? In other words, Ozzie Trapillo is drafted and you're going to play him at left tackle, and then you come out and say, well, he hit the rookie wall. And you're talking about training camp. Now he's a scratch on the game day roster. That's awful. Kieran Amagaji is a scratch on the game day roster. Who else? Shamir Turner. Is he hurt?
Kiri might have been because of the level of play and everything. But I don't think Ozzie was a reach. I mean, I was up at camp. I was impressed with him. There's something there.
But is he on the other side? Is he a right tackle? Is he not a left tackle?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah. People. The way you know what. It's not what it used to be, guys, with right tackle and left tackle anymore. The ball is coming out so fast now, and the passing games have changed. I mean, the old school primitive pass, Detroit. Now, if you're going to, they need a good left tackle because of the play action pass. Mm-hmm. But majority of the teams now, the ball's coming out so quick, so the right tackle, left tackle is not as big a deal. Quarterbacks aren't going back and standing there 7 steps like they used to back in the day, So, I mean, everything is sped up from a timing standpoint, which should help the offensive line some.
The Bears have scored on the opening drive 2 games in a row. Caleb Williams has been outstanding in both of those drives. When you get away from the first 15 plays that seem to be scripted, then he begins to maybe stray a little bit and go outside of the structure. Do you think that – how would you address that from a coaching staff perspective?
More?
No, you're working on the plays, obviously, that you're going to run, and I'm sure they came back and tried running some of those same plays. The defense is always going to adjust. There's no easy way to that. I mean, they're not running that many new plays. You might say, oh boy, in the first drive they did this and they did that, which they haven't done. That always happens every week. But the defense adjusts, and heck, the plays that we're running, these plays, we're bubble screens, and it's high percentage throws and high percentage plays. We got to get more chunks, guys. I mean, if we're going to score points, we got to get more explosive plays. We caught them in man, got a nice matchup on that first touchdown, and Dunze made a nice run on that play. It was a nice call, perfect time. We caught him just right, but we got to get those. As I said, they had 5 plays, 20-yard passes or more. They had 5 run plays, 10 yards or more. That's how you move the ball down the field. It's very difficult in this league to have 3, 4, 5-yard gains and score a lot of points. And
they didn't drive in that game. They just scored in that game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they held the ball. When you look at time possession, it wasn't
Detroit
lopsided. Detroit was scoring like crazy. It wasn't like they were holding on to the ball and marching down the field. They were just hitting these big plays.
You're right. Number of plays and time of possession was very close. It was the explosives, and then you got to come back with the turnovers. And hey, go and not making it on 4th down. That's like a turnover.
That's all over the league too. Everyone's 4th down crazy. Yeah, I feel like the Bears need to put the brakes on the 4th downs for a little bit till they win a game.
Well, I don't. I mean,
that's unlikely.
That's a coach's philosophy.
It's like a turnover, though.
Yeah,
and you're taking points off the board.
It's just like a turnover. I agree with you. And that comes down. Different coaches got different styles with that, and different answers. You got the guys with analytics screaming something, and once you're on the sideline, and let me tell you, it's and the guy upstairs that's looking at the analytics and says, Coach, it's 70% chance that we can make this. It's very difficult for a head coach to say,
punt.
We're punting the ball, or we're kicking a field goal. It really is. I mean, you got to overcome that. And then as a head coach, Ben's calling the plays, which is a little bit different too. I mean, I did that on defense the first year and a half here. and it gets to be a little bit too much because you want to stay in the flow of the game. But now it's different for him. I mean, he's got the challenges. I mean, that one challenge was,
Yeah, that was a bad decision.
A bad decision,
Dave,
and he admitted it. So, I mean, he's doing double duty now, and that's all part of becoming a head coach. But, when you start going for it on fourth down, I've always thought, can we make it against their defense? You got to process that. You can't just look at it from an offensive standpoint because the offensive coordinator wants to score every time. There's not an offensive coordinator in the league that wouldn't go for it every time. 4th and 5, he'd go for it. That's their job. Get it in the end zone. But you got to look at it from a head coach's perspective and say, if we don't make it, how is our defense matching up against these guys? Can we stop them? That's kind of the weighing factor in my mind, whether you go for it or you don't.
So say you're Dennis Allen and you're going into Sunday's game without your best tackler and TJ Edwards, your best cover guy with Jalen Johnson, and Dak Prescott is playing at a high level and he's got 2 receivers that are explosive in Pickens and CD Lamb. What is your approach? How do you try to come up with a game plan that tries to do what? What is just try to play it as safe as possible? Do you try to attack? What is your approach?
Well, Dallas, they have run the ball a little bit better. But I would look for, even though we're maybe at a little disadvantage, maybe in the secondary, I look for Dennis Allen to turn up the heat this week. I really do. I mean,
how can he though? If you have no secondary, how can you?
You got to play off and you got to play inside. You can do it. I mean, you don't get up there and press them, but you got to do it. You can bring some heat. You can bring 5-man and play zone. And try to get him into a bat.
I would not be against playing zone, given the defense as it currently stands.
I think we gotta find a way this week to try to create some pressure, get Prescott into some bad plays. That's a premium. That's a premium. You got to pressure Dak Prescott because if Prescott has time. Those 2 receivers, and we're going to have to tackle good in the secondary. The best thing I think that CD Lamb and the guy they got from Pittsburgh, what's his name? The other receiver. Pickens.
Oh, yeah.
The best thing these guys do, they make the great catch, but I think it's run after the catch. These 2 guys are dangerous with the ball in their hand, so the tackling for our secondary this week is going to be just as important, in my opinion, as the covering. They get these guys the ball. You're going to have to get them on the ground, and their tight end's not he's a kind of a Colson guy, Freiermuth, the tight end. He's not a blocker. He's not a big physical guy, but he is an athlete, and he can match up against a linebacker and beat you in that situation. So, he's more like Colson than he would be probably Komet from that standpoint. So, they've got 3 weapons. The thing that they haven't done a great job of, in my opinion, is run the ball. We got to stop the run, and then that gives us a chance to obviously cover and do the things we have to.
You like him in this game?
I do. I like the Bears to come back and win this game.
Wow.
I'm not sold on the Cowboys. I know what they did against Philly, and overtime win, big, at home against the Giants. Come on. I don't know.
Do you know Brian Schottenheimer?
Guys, Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards. I'm going to say that again. Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards. Let's just throw for half of that. Right?
Take that. Take that.
So my point is, I don't know how good the Giants, receivers and offensive line are, but we're as good as they are. Aren't we?
I would hope so.
Maybe.
That's what I'm betting.
Do you know Schottenheimer? How many Cowboys staff members do you know now? This is like the Dave Wannstedt Bowl.
Well, I don't know about that. I know Flus, and I've met Shotty because I knew his dad. I knew Marty pretty well. I used to go to heck, when I was in college coaching at Oklahoma State. Tony Wise and I would drive up. He was the head coach at Cleveland. We'd spend a week up there with the Browns. Just watching them practice and trying to learn. So. He'll run the ball. That's the one thing that if you give him a chance, he will run the ball because of his background, which most of these guys say they want to run the ball in the interviews, these offensive coordinators, but they really don't want to. He will run the football.
Marty Ball.
Yep, old Marty Ball. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff, Dave. Great to see you.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm glad you're still showing confidence.
I do. I still believe the good staff. We got good
Yeah.
enough players. I think these guys are they'll have some energy. We're playing at home.
Yeah.
You know the crowd's going to show up ready to go. You know
Yeah.
the crowd is you know they're being patient right now with Ben and Caleb and everybody, and they should be. They should be. So I'm feeling good. I'm picking the Bears this week.
You don't win this game, it's going to be like the Detroit crowd.
It could turn fast.
Don't go there.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Jerry comes to town.
Yeah.
Jerry comes to town.
That's right. Are you going to see him?
No.
Go out to. You know what he should do is they should stay out by the Bears and then take the yacht in. It'd be great. What a way to travel.